Have you ever really stopped to think about the internet? I mean, really think about it. It's kind of like electricity or running water, right? It's just this thing we expect to be there, always on. We use it for work, for shopping, for connecting with everyone. It's become so deeply baked into our daily lives that we barely even notice it's there. Until, of course, it isn't.
Okay, so let's dig into this a bit. The internet isn't just, a bunch of websites. It's this massive, sprawling ecosystem that props up pretty much everything in modern life. It's the plumbing for how we talk to each other globally. It's the new town square for commerce. It's the library of all human knowledge. And for millions and millions of us, it's our office. It has literally woven itself into the fabric of the entire global economy.
And just to put a number on that, get this. All the way back in 2014, the value of just business-to-consumer e-commerce was already a mind-blowing $1.9 trillion. And that was years ago. Our reliance on it has only skyrocketed since then.
So let's just imagine something for a second, something that feels almost impossible. What if tomorrow someone just pulled the plug? Poof! No more emails, no online banking, no social media, no cloud. A complete global internet shutdown. What would that even feel like? What would happen?
And look, that's not just me being dramatic. According to the Identity Management Institute, a long-term outage would kick off a financial meltdown, bankruptcies, and mass unemployment on a scale we have literally never seen before. It's a pretty stark warning, and it really sets the stage for the very real numbers we're about to get into.
So, let's move from the what if to the actual data. Researchers have been able to figure out the daily financial hit from a shutdown. We can actually put a number on this nightmare scenario. And here's the top-line finding. The daily economic cost for every 10 million people changes a ton based on how plugged in a country's economy is. So we've got 3 buckets here: high, medium, and low connectivity. And as you can see, we're talking about worlds of difference in the cost.
Okay, let's start at the top. For a highly connected nation, think places like the US, the UK, or Japan, the daily loss is an incredible $23.6 million for every 10 million people. So a country like the UK would be bleeding over $150 million every single day. The numbers just start to get insane really, really fast.
Now, let's look at a country with medium connectivity. This is where the internet is common, but maybe not totally everywhere yet. Well, the cost is still a massive $6.6 million a day for that same group of 10 million people. It's less, for sure, but that is a huge blow for any developing economy that's trying to compete.
And you might think, well, countries with low connectivity, they're probably fine, right? Not really. Even where internet use is below 50%, you're still looking at a daily cost of over $500,000. So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. No economy, no matter how developed it is safe from the shock of a shutdown.
To try and wrap our heads around that $23.6 million figure, for a typical highly connected country, that loss is about the same as wiping out almost 2% of its entire daily GDP. Just gone. A whole slice of the economy vanished overnight.
Okay, so we know the cost is huge, but how? How does an internet shutdown actually do so much damage? What's really going on under the hood during this kind of system-wide failure?
Well, the damage really flows through 4 main channels. First, worker productivity just tanks. No email, no cloud, no messaging. Then, the costs of doing business shoot through the roof. Simple tasks get super complicated. Third, businesses lose access to new customers. Their online shop is basically boarded up. And finally, financial access just fails. Online banking, payments, trading, it all just grinds to a halt.
It's also really important to know that these disruptions aren't always all or nothing. A shutdown is a total blackout, but there's this other thing called throttling, and that's a deliberate slowdown of internet speeds, which makes everything painfully slow and sometimes just completely unusable.
And yep, throttling has a real cost too. You can see here that just slowing speeds down by 30% shaves about 0.09% off the daily GDP. Cut the speed in half, and that loss jumps to 0.15%. So even just a laggy, sluggish internet is actively hurting the economy.
But here's what's really crucial to understand. The damage doesn't just stay in one place. It spreads. It spreads through what's called the supply chain. When one connected business goes down, it can set off this domino effect, taking down all the other businesses that depend on it.
And this real-world example just shows it perfectly. And it's not even about the internet, which is what makes it such a great comparison. 2 little parts plants had to shut down, and the ripple effect closed 26 other huge assembly plants. Now just imagine an internet outage at one key supplier.
it could do the exact same thing and bring an entire industry to its knees.
So we've looked at the cost and we've looked at how the failure happens. Now let's kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What does all this mean for our future, which is obviously becoming more and more digital every single day?
Just think about this number for a second. 2.3 billion. That was how many active social media users there were back in January 2016. That's a network connecting almost a third of the entire planet, and it's just one small part of this whole internet ecosystem.
And these platforms, they're not just for sharing pictures of your lunch. For tons of small businesses and entrepreneurs all around the world, services like Facebook or just email and Google search, they're not just tools. They're the main way, sometimes the only way, they can find customers. It's absolutely vital to how they make a living.
And this last piece of data really drives the whole point home. As countries get more and more connected, their economic reliance on things like e-commerce just explodes. It goes from maybe 1 or 2% of their economy to almost 6%. The more connected we get, the more we have to lose. It's like our progress and our vulnerability are two sides of the very same coin.
So I guess that leaves us with one last really big question. The internet has given us so much, unbelievable prosperity, incredible connection. But as we weave it deeper and deeper into our societies, we're also making ourselves more and more vulnerable to a catastrophic failure. So as our world gets more connected, what really is the true cost of our dependence?